I 35F am a senior investment analyst at a major firm in Manhattan, but to my family, I'm nothing more than their personal ATM. I've been hesitating to share this story, but recent events have forced me to seek outside perspectives on a situation that's been consuming my life for years. Growing up, our household revolved entirely around my younger sister, 31F. She was a piano prodigy who started performing at age 4. My earliest memories are of helping mom, 62F, and dad, 65F, prepare for her recitals, making sure everything was perfect for their little star. While other kids were learning to ride bikes or having playdates, I was learning how to iron concert dresses and organize sheet music. Make sure your sister has everything she needs for practice, Mom would say, not even looking up from her phone where she was recording yet another video of my sister's performance. And don't forget to prepare dinner, we'll be late tonight because of her master class. By age 10, I was essentially running the household. Laundry, cooking, cleaning, everything fell to me because your sister needs to focus on her music. I remember the day I won the state mathematics competition in 8th grade. I rushed home, clutching my trophy, only to find Mom frantically preparing for my sister's upcoming recital. "That's nice, honey," she said distractedly, "but could you please help your sister practice? She needs to perfect this piece for the Carnegie Hall Youth Showcase next month." The trophy ended up in a box in my closet, along with other forgotten achievements. The pattern continued through high school. While my sister traveled for competitions and master classes, I stayed behind, maintaining the household and keeping up perfect grades. My parents spent thousands on my sister's private lessons, special music camps, and custom-made performance attire. Meanwhile, I had to fight for basic school supplies. "We need to be practical," Dad would say. "Your sister's career development needs all our resources." I wasn't allowed to join any after-school activities because someone needed to be home to prepare things for my sister's evening practice sessions. When I expressed interest in joining the debate team, Mom looked at me as if I'd suggested burning down the house. "How could you be so selfish?" she asked. "Your sister needs a quiet, supportive environment to practice. You know how important this is for her future." Every family gathering became a recital. Relatives would crowd around the piano, cooing over my sister's talent while I served refreshments and cleaned up afterward. "Such a helpful girl," they'd say patronizingly, before turning back to shower my sister with praise. I learned to be invisible, to move silently through our house like a ghost, making sure everything ran smoothly without drawing attention to myself. The only time my parents really noticed me was when something went wrong with my sister's routine, then suddenly, I was visible, but only as a target for blame. If she had a bad performance, it was because I hadn't maintained a quiet enough environment for her practice. If she was tired during a competition, it was because I hadn't prepared her meals properly. During my senior year of high school, I got accepted to several prestigious universities with partial scholarships. When I showed my parents the acceptance letters, their response was lukewarm at best. "We can't help with any expenses," Dad said flatly during dinner. "Your sister's career development needs all our resources. Besides, you're good with household management, maybe you should look into becoming a housekeeper." That's when our neighbors, the Wilsons, stepped in. They'd watched me grow up, seen how I helped in their small accounting firm after school while waiting for my sister's practices to end. Mrs. Wilson, 55F at the time, had always treated me like a second daughter, showing interest in my achievements and encouraging my academic pursuits. They offered to help with my college expenses, setting up a work-study arrangement at their firm. My parents didn't object, they seemed almost relieved to have me taken care of, so they could focus entirely on my sister. When I tried to discuss the details of my college plans, Mom cut me off. "We trust the Wilsons to handle it," she said, already turning back to her phone where she was scheduling my sister's upcoming performances. "Just make sure this doesn't interfere with your responsibilities at home." The Wilsons became my lifeline. Their support went beyond financial assistance, they showed me what it meant to be valued for my own abilities and achievements. Mrs. Wilson attended my college orientation when my parents couldn't because of my sister's summer music festival. Mr. Wilson, 57M at the time, taught me about financial management and encouraged my interest in investment analysis. Looking back, I realized the Wilsons saw what my parents couldn't, a young woman with potential beyond being someone's support system. They invested in my education not because they had to, but because they believed in me. Their guidance helped me secure internships and eventually led to my current position as a senior investment analyst. Throughout college, I maintained minimal contact with my family, returning home only for major holidays. Each visit followed the same pattern, my sister holding court in the living room while I helped in the kitchen, listening to relatives praise her latest achievements. My own accomplishments, Dean's List, internships at prestigious firms, job offers, were barely acknowledged. Everything changed 10 years ago, during what was supposed to be my sister's breakthrough moment. She was preparing for the Chicago International Piano Competition, a prestigious event that my parents were convinced would launch her career into the stratosphere. They'd spent months planning every detail, from her performance pieces to her stage presence. Even her diet was meticulously controlled to maintain peak performance condition. The injury happened during a particularly intense practice session. She was working on Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 3, a notoriously demanding piece that she'd insisted on performing despite her instructor's reservations. I was at work when I got the call from Mom, her voice shaking with hysteria. "Get to Northwestern Memorial immediately. Your sister, her wrist, you have to come now." I found them in the emergency room, Mom sobbing uncontrollably, Dad pacing like a caged animal, and my sister, pale and silent, cradling her right wrist. The diagnosis was devastating: severe tendon damage, possible nerve involvement. The doctor's words fell like hammers in the sterile hospital room: significant rehabilitation required, uncertain prognosis, professional performance may no longer be possible. The following months were a whirlwind of specialists, second opinions, and increasingly desperate attempts at treatment. My parents liquidated everything they could: Dad's cherished vintage Mustang collection, Mom's family heirlooms, even their retirement investments. They flew in specialists from Europe, tried experimental treatments, consulted alternative medicine practitioners, anything that offered even a glimmer of hope. I watched their savings evaporate as they chased miracle cures. When their financial advisor suggested bankruptcy protection, they looked at him as if he'd suggested giving up on their child. "Money is just money," Dad declared. "Our daughter's talent is priceless." I noticed he said daughter, singular, as always. The reality set in gradually, like a slow-moving storm. Despite all the treatments, my sister's wrist never regained the strength and flexibility needed for professional performance. The doctors finally confirmed what we'd feared: her career as a concert pianist was over. It wasn't just the end of a career, it was the collapse of our entire family mythology. My parents aged years and months. Mom stopped doing her hair or wearing makeup, spending days in her bathrobe watching videos of my sister's past performances. Dad, who had always been the family's granite foundation, started forgetting things: appointments, bills, even eating sometimes. They seemed lost, as if their own identities had been irreparably linked to my sister's musical career. That's when their attention suddenly shifted to me, though not in the way I'd secretly hoped for all those years. They didn't see me as their daughter who might help them heal, they saw me as a financial solution to their mounting problems. I had just received a significant promotion at my firm, making senior analyst before age 30, an achievement that would have gone unnoticed if it hadn't come with a substantial salary increase. "You're doing so well," Mom said during one of her first calls to me in months. Her voice carried an unfamiliar note of pride, but it was quickly followed by, "Your sister needs help with her medical bills. Since you're in such a good position now." The request was wrapped in layers of guilt and obligation, delivered with the expert manipulation that only a mother can master. At first, I agreed to help with a modest monthly contribution, $1,000, to help with my sister's therapy and living expenses. It seemed reasonable, even necessary. They were family, after all, and I was finally in a position to give back. The gratitude seemed genuine initially, with Mom calling regularly to update me on my sister's progress and Dad sending awkward but heartfelt thank you texts. But the requests kept coming, each one larger than the last, each wrapped in increasingly elaborate justifications. My sister needed a new car because public transportation triggers her anxiety after the trauma. The house needed renovation because the negative energy was impeding her recovery. They needed a family vacation because emotional healing is just as important as physical therapy. Then came the credit cards. "Just for emergencies," they said, adding me as an authorized user on their accounts. Their definition of an emergency proved remarkably elastic. Shopping sprees became retail therapy. Expensive restaurants were necessary for maintaining family bonds during crisis. Luxury spa retreats were essential for recovery. The monthly expenses grew like ivy on a wall, slowly at first, then suddenly overwhelming. $1,000 became $2,000, then $3,000. Each increase was accompanied by elaborate explanations and emotional manipulation. "After everything we've done for you," became their constant refrain, though I struggled to remember exactly what they had done. When I hesitated about a particularly large request, Mom reminded me of all the sacrifices they'd made, conveniently forgetting that those sacrifices had been exclusively for my sister. My friend Rachel, 35F, who I've known since college, watches this situation with growing alarm. "They're not treating you like family," she said during our weekly dinner at her parents' restaurant. "They're treating you like an ATM with legs." I brushed off her concerns at first, making excuses about family obligations and filial duty, but her words stuck with me like burrs. The Wilsons, my longtime mentors, have also expressed concern. Mrs. Wilson pulled me aside after our monthly lunch meeting last week. "Honey," she said, her face etched with worry, "this isn't support, it's exploitation. We didn't help you build a career so you could become your family's personal bank." The breaking point came last week when I discovered they'd spent over $12,000 on my sister's therapeutic shopping spree, without even mentioning it to me. The charges included designer clothes, spa treatments, and a weekend at a luxury resort, all justified as necessary for her emotional recovery. When I tried to discuss setting boundaries, Mom burst into tears, delivering an Oscar-worthy performance about how I was abandoning the family in our time of need. Dad called later that night, his voice stern with disapproval, employing the same authoritarian tone that had kept me in line throughout my childhood. "Your sister needs our support more than ever," he lectured. "How can you be so selfish when she's still struggling to find her path? We raised you better than this." The irony of his words, "we raised you," struck me like a physical blow. Did they raise me? Or did I raise myself in the shadows of their obsession with my sister? Yesterday, I received another credit card bill, $15,000 for a wellness retreat I never approved. When I called to question it, my sister answered the phone. "You make so much money," she said dismissively, her voice carrying the same entitled tone I remembered from childhood. "Stop being stingy. You know Mom and Dad need this to deal with everything they've been through because of me. I'm writing this from my office on the 47th floor of our Manhattan building, surrounded by the trappings of the success I achieved despite, not because of, my family's support. The spreadsheet on my second monitor tells the story of my family's financial exploitation in cold, hard numbers. In the past year alone, they've spent over $150,000 of my money, more than most families' annual income. My financial advisor is concerned about the impact on my long-term financial security. My therapist gently suggests that it's time to establish firm boundaries. Rachel alternates between offering her guest room and offering to tell my family exactly where they can go, in multiple languages, courtesy of her international business experience. But every time I think about cutting them off, I remember the little girl who just wanted her parents to notice her achievements. The teenager who thought if she worked hard enough, someone would finally see her as more than a support system. The young woman who still hopes that maybe, just maybe, her family might recognize her as a person rather than a resource. I'm at a crossroads now, facing decisions I never wanted to make. The Wilsons, who have been more parents to me than my actual parents, say I need to protect myself. Rachel offers practical support and a safe space to think. My therapist talks about boundaries and self-respect, words that sound simple but carry the weight of decades of family dynamics. But I'm struggling with questions that seem to have no right answers. Am I being heartless for considering financial boundaries? Is it wrong to want recognition for my own achievements? Should I just accept that this is my role in the family, the reliable one, the responsible one, the human ATM? I honestly don't know anymore. Update 1, my world imploded yesterday when I discovered through Instagram that my parents are currently in Hawaii, not just for a vacation, but for my sister's secret engagement party. A party they paid for using my credit card. I was mindlessly scrolling through my feed during lunch when a mutual friend's post stopped me cold. Paradise with the future bride. Hashtag engagement bliss, hashtag Hawaii. There she was, beaming on a pristine beach, standing next to her boyfriend, now fiancé, with our parents and his family in the background. 3 days. They'd been there for 3 days without a single word to me. Confused and hurt, I opened my banking app. The charges hit me like punches. First-class tickets to Honolulu, $24,800. Grand Wailea Resort, 3 Ocean View Suites, $21,600. Welcome dinner, spa treatments, sailing excursion, private beachfront dinner, another $12,000. My hands were shaking as I dialed Mom's number. When she answered, I could hear Hawaiian music and laughter in the background. "Oh honey," she said casually, "your father and I just decided to take a little break. You know how stressful things have been lately. A little break at the Grand Wailea with my sister's fiancé's entire family? That kind of break costs over $58,000 on my credit card." Silence. Muffled voices. Then my sister was on the line, her words dripping with entitlement. "Listen, Miss Executive, you're not needed here. You're not family anymore, just a walking ATM. Nobody wants to hear about your precious career while we're celebrating my engagement." I forced myself to stay calm. "That ATM just paid nearly $60,000 for your little party." She laughed coldly. "Well, that's what you're good for, isn't it? You keep working your fancy job, and we enjoy spending your money. It's the only thing you're useful for anyway, always was." The line went dead. Within minutes, they'd blocked me on every platform. A final message from Mom: "We're all tired of your attitude and jealousy. Just leave us alone. You've ruined enough special moments for your sister." Something cold and hard crystallized in my chest. My hands were steady as I opened my banking app. Each click felt like breaking another link in the chain that had bound me to their abuse. Click. Hotel reservations, cancelled. Click. Spa packages and excursions, cancelled. Click. Return flight tickets, cancelled. Click. Mom's card, permanently deactivated. The aftermath was immediate. My phone exploded with calls and messages. "Mom, this is an emergency. Call immediately. Dad, fix this now. You're embarrassing the family. Sister, you better make this right." Unknown Hawaii numbers, the future in-laws, no doubt. As hours passed, their tone shifted. "Mom, sweetie, please, we can talk. Dad, we'll pay you back. Sister, don't be so petty. It's my engagement." Then came my sister's social media blast. "I can't believe my own sister would ruin the happiest moment of my life. She's always been jealous, but this is a new low. Hashtag toxic family, hashtag heartbroken." I'd stayed quiet long enough. I posted every screenshot, every credit card statement, every message. The truth about their secret celebration, their unauthorized charges, their cruel words. The tide turned immediately. Support poured in as people saw the reality behind their carefully crafted narrative. Through mutual friends, I learned the aftermath of my actions. My parents had to borrow money just to book economy flights home. They were forced to check out of the Grand Wailea in front of other guests. My sister threw a tantrum in the lobby that ended up on TikTok. The real explosion came when the fiancé's family realized they'd been caught in my family's web of lies. They'd been promised a fully paid luxury vacation, only to discover they'd been part of a scheme to exploit the rich sister. The engagement itself is now in question, with the fiancé's family reconsidering the whole relationship. I'm writing this update from my friend Rachel's guest room. The Wilsons have offered their support, reminding me that real family doesn't treat you like an ATM. I've frozen all my accounts, and my lawyer is drafting cease and desist letters. The hardest part? I feel nothing. No guilt. No sadness. Just relief, as if I've finally put down a weight I've been carrying my entire life. Maybe that's what freedom feels like. Update 2: the aftermath of my Hawaii post has been illuminating. What started as a family dispute has exposed years of manipulation to a wider audience than expected. 3 days after my last update, I received an email from my sister's fiancé's mother. We met at a quiet cafe in Manhattan. We had no idea, she began, hands wrapped around her coffee cup. Your parents told us they were successful investment managers and that your sister was taking a break from her concert pianist career. They said this luxury vacation was their gift to both families. She shared details about my family's deception. They'd presented themselves as wealthy sophisticates, weaving stories about their successful careers and my sister's temporary hiatus from performing. The reality hit their family hard. James is devastated, she said. Not about the money, but about the lies. He asked your sister directly about using your credit cards without permission. She laughed and said, "She's my sister, her money is family money." That evening, James ended their engagement. I can't build a life with someone who thinks it's okay to steal from and exclude their own sister, he told her. He returned the ring and walked away, his family standing firmly behind his decision. My sister's response was nuclear. She posted a lengthy Instagram live rant, blaming me for destroying her chance at happiness. When that gained little traction, she started contacting my colleagues, spreading stories about how I abandoned my family in their time of need. But her efforts backfired. My documented post had already made its rounds. People had seen the credit card statements, read the messages, understood the pattern of exploitation. Each new attack from her only reinforced my narrative. The professional fallout for my parents has been severe. Dad's consulting clients started distancing themselves. Mom's social standing in her charity circles has crumbled. Their carefully constructed image has shattered. They've been trying to contact me through every possible channel. The tone shifts between pleading and demands. We're still your parents, you can't just cut us off. After everything we've sacrificed for you. Your sister is devastated, how could you be so cruel? We'll pay you back, just give us time. Yesterday, they showed up at my office. Security turned them away, but not before Mom created a scene in the lobby, crying about her ungrateful daughter. My colleagues have been supportive, with several sharing their own stories of family financial abuse. The Wilsons have been my rock through all this. Mrs. Wilson helped me change all my banking information and set up additional security measures. Mr. Wilson is helping me document every unauthorized transaction for potential legal action. Rachel's parents offered their guest house for as long as I need it. Family doesn't steal from family, Rachel's mother said. And they certainly don't exclude their own daughter from family celebrations while spending her money. The support from my sister's ex-future in-laws has been surprising. They've publicly defended my actions and shared their own experience with my family's deception. Their story has helped others see the full scope of the manipulation. Today, I received a thick envelope from my parents. Inside was a promissory note for the Hawaii expenses, along with a letter about healing our family bonds and moving forward together. They suggested family therapy and monthly dinners to rebuild trust. But there was no acknowledgement of their decades of emotional abuse. No recognition of how they'd systematically exploited me while excluding me from the family. The letter spoke about misunderstandings, as if unauthorized charges of $58,000 and a secret family celebration were simple mistakes. I returned the letter unopened, with a formal cease and desist notice from my lawyer. Some extended family members have tried to play peacemaker. They're still your parents, they say. Family is family. But that's the thing, they've never treated me like family. I was their housekeeper, their ATM, their backup plan. Never their daughter, never their sister, never a real member of the family. I'm done being the family bank. Done being the invisible support system. Done sacrificing my financial security and emotional well-being for people who see me as nothing more than a resource to be exploited. For the first time in my life, I'm putting myself first. My money is my money. My time is my time. My life is my life. And it feels absolutely liberating. Update 3, it's been a month since my last update, and I've finally achieved something I never thought possible: complete peace. 2 weeks ago, my family made their final attempt at reconciliation. They showed up at my apartment with photo albums and recital programs. The doorman didn't let them up, but they waited in the lobby for hours. "We just want to remind her of the good times," Mom told the doorman. She flipped through photos of my sister's performances, pointing out pictures where I could be glimpsed in the background, usually carrying equipment or adjusting costumes. Dad tried reaching my colleagues through LinkedIn. "We're worried about our daughter's mental health. She's cutting off her loving family over a simple misunderstanding about shared finances." My coworkers forwarded his messages, along with their responses, defending my actions. My sister's latest strategy has been playing victim on social media. She's created videos about toxic individualism and how money destroys families. Each video carefully edits out the unauthorized charges and secret engagement party. The comments section is filled with people sharing the full story. The final straw came when they contacted the Wilsons to make me see reason. Mr. Wilson's response was perfect. "I've watched you treat her as nothing more than a convenience for 30 years. She's finally valuing herself the way she should have been valued all along." My lawyer has sent formal letters demanding repayment of all unauthorized charges. The total came to over $287,000 across 3 years. They claim everything was agreed upon and that I'm rewriting history. The bank's fraud department disagrees, and investigations are ongoing. I've moved to a new apartment in a secure building. My mail is forwarded through a screening service. My phone number has changed, my email has strict filters, and my social media accounts are either deactivated or private. Without the constant drain of family demands, I've been able to focus on my career. Last week, I was offered a partnership track position. The managing partner mentioned that my handling of the family situation showed exactly the kind of backbone they want in leadership. Rachel's parents have unofficially adopted me. I have standing Sunday dinner invitations, and her mom keeps accidentally cooking too much food. They insisted I join their annual Cape Cod vacation. "Real family vacations don't involve stealing," Rachel's dad joked as we planned the trip. The Wilsons remain my steadfast mentors. Mrs. Wilson has been helping me rediscover abandoned interests. I've started photography classes, something I couldn't do in high school because it would have interfered with my sister's practice schedule. Extended family still push for reconciliation. But what about the holidays? What about when your parents are older? These questions used to fill me with guilt. Now they just remind me of how one-sided our relationship was. I've started therapy to process decades of manipulation. My therapist pointed out that my family's behavior follows a classic pattern of financial abuse, masked by cultural expectations about family obligation. "You're not breaking family bonds," she told me. "You're breaking free from exploitation." The most profound change has been internal. The anxiety that used to accompany every phone call, every email, every bank alert, it's gone. I no longer flinch when my phone rings or feel guilty about spending my own money on myself. Last weekend, I bought an abstract painting that spoke to me. As I hung it, I realized this was the first time I bought something purely because I wanted it, not because someone else needed it. My sister's latest post calls me heartless for abandoning family. But I haven't abandoned family, I've found my real one. It's in Rachel's parents asking about my day and meaning it. It's in the Wilsons celebrating my successes without asking for anything in return. It's in my colleagues who stand up for me without hesitation. Sometimes I think about that little girl who ironed concert dresses and cooked dinners, doing everything she could to be noticed. I wish I could tell her that she deserved better. That being useful isn't the same as being loved. That real family doesn't treat you like an ATM. I am not an ATM. I am not a support system. I am not a resource to be exploited. I am free.